What's been moving in my world lately is this idea and this concept about skills, right? And something that has really kind of like crystallized for me and is or starting to come together for me is that there are certain skills that you are going to need on this journey of entrepreneurship, right? And for most of us, we're coming with some type of like innate skill, right? Like there's something that you're probably really naturally good at. For me, my innate skill set is around my eye. Like I know when things look good. I love things like photography and capturing really cool shots and moments, and from a design perspective, just knowing what looks good. I feel very well versed in it. This is something that is just very innate. I didn't go to school to study it. It's just something that I have naturally. And then there are skills that we develop over time, right? Maybe it's through a job that you held for a long period of time, like me, or maybe it's through different odd jobs that you've had and you have learned different skills throughout your time doing these many different jobs. And these are all things that come in and play a role in helping us on this journey. You know, we need to tap into all of the skills that we have developed and the skills that we have innately. But what we also need to do is practice certain skills that we are not as versed in. And that's the thing that's been coming up for me lately. Something that I need to practice and strengthen is the skill of being able to talk about myself, talking about what it is that I do, talking about what it is that I believe, talking about the world that I'm building, talking about my work. And I realized, I've put out 2 videos now, and I'm really proud of myself, y'all, because I'm telling you, this has been a whole thing just even to get to this point, to even have this camera out and be recording and posting on YouTube. So I'm really proud of myself for those 2 videos. But anywho, I realized that I put out these 2 videos and I have not introduced myself. I've not even said my name other than when it's come out as I'm talking. I haven't talked anything about what I do, what I believe, none of that. And when I was sitting last week and into this week, and I'm in like the ideation phase of what it is that I want to talk about on video this week, this whole idea around skills and the need to practice so that we can get better at certain skills came up. And particularly this skill set around talking about myself. I have been a person who, for the most part, just very much kind of like plays the background. I don't really need fanfare, nor am I looking for it. I'm okay with just being someone who is in the background. But what this work is really asking of me is to not lean into that. This work is asking me to show up and take up space. And in order to take up space, I have to talk and feel confident about what I'm talking about and speaking about and being able to articulate it. And the only way that I'm going to get better at doing that is by doing it. And so today's video, I wanted to, one, just kind of really highlight this whole concept around skill set, right? And the innate skills, the learned skills, and then, the skills that we need to practice so that we can get better at them. And then I wanted to also use this video as a way to put that into practice and really use this video to introduce myself and my work and my worldview and all of the things. And so I'm Michelle Breana. Hello, y'all. And I am the Rhythm Architect. And the Rhythm Architect is a descriptor that I feel really embodies what my work is about. And it really embodies my philosophy and my worldview. When we think about those 2 words, right? Think about the word rhythm, think about the word architect. For me, rhythm is something that has a flow to it. It is something that feels very feminine in nature, in the sense that it is movement, and it is ever changing, and it has elements to it that are malleable. And when we think about the word architect, architect definitely feels more firm, and it feels more structured. It feels a little bit more masculine in nature. And when I'm using terms like feminine and masculine, I'm not talking in terms of gender at all. I'm speaking about it from an energetic perspective of feminine energy and masculine energy, which we all have. We all have both. And that's probably a topic for another video, but I just wanted to clarify that when I'm speaking about that. And so when those two words come together, it really is about a balance between the two, right? Because the reality is you cannot create without tapping into the rhythm, right? Tapping into that femininity, right? Like creative energy is very feminine energy just by nature, but you also need structure in order to build anything. If you are too much in that flow, you don't have enough structure to be able to actually build something sustainable. It is harder to lean into consistency and things like that without having some sense of structure in your life. And I believe that we need to have a balance between the two. It is about rhythm and it is about structure. It's both. And my whole viewpoint is I believe that the way that we have been navigating throughout the world for centuries and centuries and all of this time is really just wrong. I think with the rise of things like capitalism and patriarchal societies and all of that, we've really put so much of an emphasis around working to the point where you are burnt out, working to the point that you literally are making yourself sick. We've been operating for so long under systems that really value productivity over everything else. And I just don't believe that that is the true way for us to build work that feels good to us, or to build in a way that's actually sustainable. Because I do believe that rest and play and intention are parts of our journey towards success. And success is one of those things that has very much been defined for us. We have been shown visuals of what success is, right? You know, we are told, you know, yes, when you go and you buy the big house and you're able to get the cars and get the things and have the things, you know, you've reached a certain level of success. You know, people know your name, you know, all of that stuff, right? Of what success has been told it is to us. And I believe that we are very much in a state in our time on earth where success is one of those things that we need to reclaim for ourselves. Because the truth is, what I think is successful is not necessarily what someone else is going to think is successful. I have my own view of what success is for me, and that is what I keep in my mind as I'm building toward my dream and building toward this life that I'm creating for myself, keeping that vision in my mind, because that is my marker. That is the thing that I know that I am walking toward and building toward. And in order to do that, I do not believe that we have to sacrifice ourselves, nor do we have to choose productivity above all else. I believe and know that a part of our process of creation includes rest and it includes play. That is a part of it. And so the life that I am building is one that includes these elements as a part of my regular week. Rest is extremely important to me. Play is extremely important to me. And they are things that I don't compromise on. They are things that are regularly added into my life because they help to inform my work, and they also help to make the work feel sustainable. I know what it is to work, 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 work. I have been there. I have done that. I still am working in a traditional 9 to 5 type of job. I'm no longer full time. I'm now a part-time employee there, but I know what it is like to completely overwork yourself and to give yourself over to a job, or give yourself over to, even if the job is the work that you're building, right? I understand that very deeply. And I think what happens for us, especially as like spiritual entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs who are wanting to build these different types of businesses and different type of work for ourselves, the models that we have for how to build are very rooted in these systems of capitalism, patriarchy, work, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. That's the examples that we have when we look at people who have amassed some level of success, right? Or some notoriety for themselves. When we look at the process, a lot of what we're shown and what we see is a certain model for how you're supposed to do things in order to achieve this level of success. But if success to me doesn't look like what I've been told it's supposed to be, then why would I follow a model to gain something that isn't even what I want? And that's something that I have been very much an advocate for, which is identifying what success is for you, really knowing what it is that you yourself are wanting to build. It's about getting in touch with who you are and how you naturally operate in the world. We all cannot be 5 a.m. people or 4 a.m. people. That just doesn't work for everyone. For some people, sure, if you try that and that's a thing that you're able to do and sustain and that feels good for you, then by all means do what feels supportive for you. But that's not for everyone. And when we're all trying to be like this one version of what we think it's supposed to look like, we very much enter into a space and a state where we're abandoning ourselves because we're trying to shift and change ourselves into being people who we're not. And I'm all about, and I am a big advocate for leaning into who you are. And in order to lean into who you are, you have to really start to pay attention to yourself. You have to start really getting curious about yourself and becoming an observer of yourself. And so my work is really centered around the art of observation. It's about getting curious about who it is that we are, how we naturally operate, really tapping into what it is that we want, allowing ourselves to be in that space of saying what it is that we want, calling in what it is that we want, and then taking in all of this information and also looking at what's not working currently in our lives, because that's a true thing as well. That feeling where something needs to change, but you're not exactly sure what it is. I think most of us have been there. I know I have been there, where it's just like this overwhelming feeling of like something in my life is not working anymore. Like something just doesn't resonate with who I am in this season. And until we get curious about that and start to really observe it and talk about it in a space that feels conducive to what it is that we are wanting to do and who it is that we're wanting to be, it's hard to know what types of changes to actually make if you don't know what it is that you're desiring to change. And so my work is very focused around that. It is bringing people back into themselves and bringing people back into that state of just being curious. And with this curiosity, you are going to notice things about yourself. You are going to be gathering knowledge. And this is when we take all of what it is that you are observing and seeing, and we put it into practice. And that is the other half of the rhythm architect, right? We talk a lot about the rhythm, right? Who we are, how we naturally operate in the world, what it is that we're wanting, what it is that we're wanting to create and to build, and all of that work, right? That is very much in alignment with the rhythmic element of ourselves, right? And of life. And then the second part of it, when we talk about putting these things together, is the architecture part of it, right? It's the building part, it's the doing part, it's the action part, because without that, nothing changes. Awareness is a beautiful thing to have, right? Because, there's a lot of people who don't ever get to that level of even being aware of themselves, right? And so I would never discredit awareness because it is so important. Awareness allows you to be able to exercise your right of choice. Because when you're aware of something and you know it, you can choose differently. And that is a beautiful thing, and that is a powerful thing. But if we don't do anything with the awareness that we have, it's almost like, like, okay, like we know it and that's great, but therefore what? And so my work is very much a symbiotic relationship between awareness and action. So one of the things that I do in my one-on-one session, the mirror, is we're going to go through and we take all of that information, right? And I'm going to be there with you as we're excavating this information. And, we're talking about your commitments that you currently have, talking about what your current rhythms are, when your energy feels like it's online. And, we're going to talk about what are the things that you feel are getting in the way. We're going to talk about what it is that you want to build. And after we take all of that information that we just collected, all that data that we just collected, now we're going to use that to inform and build out a weekly rhythm for yourself. And so I am an astrology girly. I am not an astrologist, not at all, but I'm an astrology girly. And astrology is something that I personally feel has helped me on my own individual journey in really understanding myself more. It has helped me to really just get a better sense of themes and patterns and all of that. And I think that it is a great tool for self-discovery. And there are also some things within astrology, when we think about it, that govern this world that we live and exist in. And one of those things are the days of the week. And so each day of the week is ruled by a certain planet. So when we tap into the energetic signature of that planet, it helps to inform the day. And so I'll give an example, right? So Mondays are ruled by the moon, right? For most of us, especially if we're working just traditional jobs, right? Monday is the start of the week for us. And Mondays tend to be kind of hard. Mondays are a little hard to get into the swing. It's like, you feel like you kind of want to move slow. There's a little like kind of grogginess to it. Like you feel some of that energy. And when we learn that Monday is actually ruled by the moon, it is moon day, it kind of makes sense when we think about it, because it's like, the energy of the moon is internal, it's emotional, it's a little more slow moving. And so to try to go into Mondays with this go, go, go energy, it makes sense why it feels a little like there's a little tension there, as opposed to a Tuesday, which is Mars ruled. And Mars is a fiery planet. It's action oriented. Tuesdays feel like, okay, I'm getting into it. I can do kind of like my hard hitters of getting things done. Like it's just a different energy. And so when we tap into that, we can utilize that as a structure for ourselves. And it helps us to just better be able to plan out our weeks. If we have an understanding of what the energy is for each of these days, now when I sit to do the plan out for the week ahead, I'm going to put this on a Tuesday because this is a task that I know I've been sitting with for a while and I've been kind of procrastinating on it. Let me use that Mars fire action energy and get this done. Or, I've been meaning to catch up with a particular friend. I'm going to schedule that for us to get together on a Friday because Friday is Venus Day, and Venus is all about beauty and love and connection. And so This is something that I have been using and doing for the last 2 years. And when I tell you it has made such a difference in my life, it has been literally life changing, because the thing that I was struggling with the most was trying to balance at this time having a full-time job, having my regular life commitments as a friend, a daughter, a sister, all the things, also the other hobbies that I was into, and also trying to commit to this work and to build this work. I was overwhelmed and I was overbooking myself, and I was really just doing too much. And I stumbled across this as a way to rethink and reframe how I looked at my week. And when I started implementing it, I started to notice over time how supportive it became, because it started to also become second nature. Because if I know what the energetic signatures are of each of the days, it helps me to be able to structure my week in a way that feels more supportive. So instead of me trying to force all of these hard hitters on a Monday, maybe I shift them to Tuesday, or shift some of them. If I can't do all, shift some of them over to a Tuesday, over to a day where the energy supports that. And then the things that I know that I want to focus on, maybe that are more internal, maybe like deeper journaling on that day, or maybe it's a deeper meditation on that day, I would do that on a Monday, a day that is supportive of that type of energy. And so my work overall in totality is very much focused on the awareness and the action. It's both parts, and it's about putting both of those parts together so that you can build a life and create a life that is in alignment with who you are and how you naturally be in the world, like how you exist, how you naturally operate, or how you operate best. And taking that and actually utilizing it, and not looking at it as something being wrong with you, that you can't follow what everybody else is doing, or not looking at it and picking it apart. It's about getting curious with it. It's about embracing it. It's about knowing, like, yeah, my energy is really, really online between 10 a.m. and about 2 to 3 p.m. That is when I'm like at my highest peak. And because I know that about myself, I can utilize that information for myself. If I know that if I do too much socializing, that drains my battery, then that helps me in being a little bit more aware of not overbooking myself. So my work is very, very focused on allowing oneself to actually be who they are and use that to your advantage in order to build the life that you are wanting to build. I do not believe that we have to follow this blueprint that really, for the most part, we know doesn't work. It works in the sense of, sure, will you get to what it is that you're chasing or aiming for? Yeah, you will. But life is more than just about how it looks. It's about how it feels. If it didn't feel good to get there, if you burned yourself out so many times throughout the process, if you made yourself physically or mentally sick just to be able to get to that point, then what is actually the point? You know, the journey is such a big part of the process, and being present in the journey. And why not allow yourself to enjoy the journey a bit more and let yourself do the things that you feel called to actually do in the way that you want to do it? For most of us, especially again, if you are on a spiritual, entrepreneurial type of journey, there is no blueprint for how to do this. You know, like, we're very much figuring it out. You know, like I mentioned in the video last week about so much of this journey is about experimentation and trying things out and having to make decisions about things, and, you know, learning along the way, learning as we go. And my work is very much rooted and grounded in the fact that we are all different people. And that is something to be embraced. And that is something for us to really lean into, is the uniqueness of our differences and the uniqueness of who we are. And so if any of this sounds like something that you are curious about, you can start with the Rhythm Audit, which is a free 7-day email journey experience. And what that journey is going to do and take you on is a journey into the art of observation. And so each day you're going to receive an email with a different area of focus for that day. And you are going to really enter that seat of the observer to really start to look at your energy, to look at your environments, to look at the people around you, looking at your emotions. And the point of this practice is to really start to get familiar with and start to get more used to observing yourself and just getting curious about it. And so for those 7 days, there's nothing that you need to do. This is simply about entering into the space of observing. And so if that is something that sounds interesting to you or something that you'd like to check out, look in the description box and you'll see the link to sign up for the Rhythm Audit. And if you want to go even deeper and take all of this knowledge that you've now gained and actually apply it into building a weekly rhythm that's supportive of you, this is the work that I do in the mirror. It is a 2-hour session where we are going to sit and really do the work. And it is fun and it's creative. You know, when you enter into a space where you are able to actually build your week toward your life that you're wanting and build it in a way that actually feels good to you, that actually includes in the things you want to do, it is life changing. And so if that feels like something that you also would like to explore and learn more about, you could also look at the link in the description box about that. So thank you for being here with me today for today's video and for listening about who I am and what I'm about and what this work is about. And this is something that I am going to be talking about more because, like I said in the beginning of the video, this is about really honing in to develop a skill. And this is a skill that is important. And it's something that I do want to get better at doing and get better at talking about my work and talking about how it impacts and informs the decisions that I make and why I'm building in the way that I'm building. And so I think this is important for not only my journey, but also for your journey, just in seeing someone who is choosing to build in a very different and specific type of way. So thank you again for being here. If you are curious about my work, please check out the links in the description box. You can like this video if you feel called to, subscribe to stay in touch with me throughout this journey. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. And let me know in the comments if there was something that I said that really resonated with you, or if there's anything that you're curious about. I love talking to people. I love hearing about what people are building, what people are navigating on their journeys. So feel free to leave all of that in the comments. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, your week, your month, whenever this video is landing for you. And I will talk with you next time. Bye for now.